VocalEye Almost Live Zoom. Hidden Treasures. Hosted by Amy Amantea. With special guests Ysabelle Vautour, Ryan Annett, Mazz, and LauriAnne Vautour.
Welcome to the VocalEye Almost Live event. My name is Amy Amantea. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the community outreach coordinator here for VocalEye. I'm your host for these Almost Live events, and I'm also a member of the blind community. And just before we get started with tonight's feature presentation, I want to extend a big thank you to those who have made donations and other folks who have supported us in many ways over our 93 episodes of Almost Live. I can't even believe it. So if you're in a position to make a financial contribution, that's fantastic. There's always a link posted in the chat, but other ways that you can support us include things like testimonial letters. Those are really lovely, and thanks folks. Keep them coming. They're beautiful. We love to read them, and our funders really like to know the impact that programming may be having on you. If you happen to be watching tonight's event on our YouTube channel, please hit that like and subscribe buttons, both of them. Hit them both. Okay, here we go. We're going to ask Ingrid to come into the space tonight and offer our land acknowledgement. So welcome, Ingrid.
Hi, everybody. VocalEye, oh, pardon me. I haven't spoken for half an hour or so. VocalEye is based on the ancestral lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people who've stewarded these lands and waters for many thousands of years. And we respect and appreciate that their stewardship has made this a good place to live, despite our having displaced them from their lands. Acknowledging Indigenous people in their ancestral territories is an important part of addressing the historic wrongs done to Indigenous people here in North America, and as part of the Truth and Reconciliation process developed by the Canadian Truth and Reconciliation Commission of 2008. It investigated and documented the atrocities perpetrated against Indigenous peoples in the colonization of North America, residential schools in particular. The Commission made recommendations to prevent such atrocities from happening again, and these recommendations take the form of 94 calls to action. The first 42 calls to action included the rights of children, the right to education, the right to speak their own language and practice their culture, the right to have sufficient and appropriate health care, and the right to justice reform. Those calls to action are about redressing the legacy of harms done to Indigenous peoples. The next calls to action are about reconciliation. The call for federal, provincial, and municipal governments to adopt and implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, also called UNDRIP, is as the framework for reconciliation. This brings Canadian law into alignment with the United Nations Declaration, which confirms certain rights to Indigenous people, including the rights of self-determination, cultural practices, self-government, and land rights. Land rights are a big deal these days here in Canada and certainly in Central and South America. A key element in the recognition of land rights is the requirement of free, prior, and informed consent of Indigenous peoples. This is at the root of pipeline opposition here in British Columbia, where First Nations such as the Secwepemc Nation and the Wet'suwet'en First Nation who have not given free, prior, and informed consent for pipelines being constructed through their traditional territories, which includes sacred sites and important plant harvesting areas. For example, the Secwepemc have had a man camp constructed on their traditional blueberry grounds and can't harvest there anymore because the bushes are all gone. They're replaced by trailers full of workers. The oil companies consulted with federal government appointed band councils, but not with the traditional chiefs and families on the territories. This has led to serious conflict in Indigenous communities who feel that the elected councils don't represent them, or that the traditional chiefs have no legal standing. It's messy. Land defenders on these nations are routinely harassed and raided by the RCMP and the oil company's security teams for asserting their right to live on the land. And the security teams are made up of retired and off-duty RCMP officers. Big surprise. You may remember the Fairy Creek protest site in 2021 on southern Vancouver Island. They were subjected to excessive force, confiscation of food and water, and unlawful apprehension of personal possessions, vehicles, and items providing media access. Nevertheless, many of them went to jail, and only after review were these things determined to have been illegal. So the fight continues.
Thank you, Ingrid, for offering that in the space this evening.
You're welcome.
Friends, welcome. It's Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. Tonight, we're proud to offer you our Almost Live event, number 93. We're calling this one Hidden Treasures, and you'll find out why in just a moment. So before we kick off our official event at 7 o'clock Pacific time, I want to just invite Ysabelle Vautour into the space to give us a little bit of an idea of what we're going to experience tonight. So Ysabelle, welcome. Welcome to the space. Give Ysabelle a moment to unmute. VocalEye is going to give you permission to unmute, so stand by, friends. There you go. I think I heard a chuckle.
Okay, is it working?
We gotcha. We gotcha. You gotta love technology, right? So welcome to the space, Ysabelle. Really happy to have you with us tonight as we experience this art collective. But tell us a little bit about the New Brunswick Disability Art Collective.
Sure. It was founded last year. It's a group of artists who identify with having or living with disability. It's a small collective at the moment, but we're growing in size. It was just a few people, and now I think we're 14 at my last count.
Okay.
Yeah.
Silly question. Who started this collective?
Me.
Yeah, of course. You didn't proudly shout that from the rooftop. So what was it about? I don't know. Where did the idea come from?
Well, I was, I have a disability myself, and I was making art, and I was kind of wondering what other people with disabilities make art. So I saw across Canada, there's, very cool disability arts communities, but there wasn't anything here in New Brunswick. So I was just curious, I wanted to meet people, and I wanted to have that space to say we exist here also, because New Brunswick has quite a high rate of persons with disabilities. I think it sits at 26%.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it's the second highest in the second highest province in Canada. So,
any idea why that is? Is there?
I'm guessing it's the elderly population of New Brunswick. New Brunswick seems to be a place where people come to retire, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Okay. And you've been in New Brunswick all your life?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. So the exhibit so there was an exhibit, obviously, and you videotaped that, and we're going to hear some audio description with that exhibit and talk to some of the artists. But where did the idea for the exhibit come from? How did that happen?
I just wanted to do a group show. I saw that there was a space at the Playhouse, which is a fairly accessible venue, and you couldn't apply as an artist. You needed to apply as a group or collective, and I was like, well, why don't I start one? When I did my first solo exhibition in Fredericton, when was that, last year? Anyway, yeah, last year. Time goes by so fast. I had met Ryan, and I had met Cassandra's friend Jessica, just that week. They saw like the interview that I was on. I think it was on Global or something. And they reached out and they said that they were artists with disabilities. And then I was like, oh, I got to get this thing started because I had it in the back of my head. And then a couple of people introduced themselves and I was like, okay, all right, it's time, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Starting to come together. The pieces are starting to come together.
Yeah.
So this all happened during pandemic time.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Wow. That's pretty darn incredible that, I don't know, did the pandemic in any way inspire any of this collective building or?
Before the pandemic, I was selected for, it's called Art Kitchen. So essentially it's a community, dinner where 4 artists make pitches. So I was one of the artists making a pitch, and my pitch was, it wasn't quite to create a disability art collective, but it was more to create like a website or create like a space where we could collect, like a place where people could find each other. So I wanted to create like a network is what I was after at the time. And that was the idea that I pitched. And I thought it was very important for you know, being aware of what the accessibility concerns are, what are the barriers. You know, it's better when you're a group to figure these things out and talk to each other than just being that one person, you know what I mean? Like for me anyway, I feel like a lot of trouble just trying to ask for things or advocate. I am fairly assertive, but you know, I have my days where I'm like, nope, don't want to ask anything. So I figure I'm not the only one out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that will resonate with lots of folks in this space, this idea that you don't always want to be the teaching moment. You don't always want to have to explain. You don't always want to have to ask, right?
Right. Some days you're tired, you know?
Some days you're tired. Isn't that the truth? Okay, Ysabelle, well, we're going to start, you're our first featured artist tonight. So we're going to start off by playing this initial sort of 8-ish minutes clip of some of your work. And then we're going to come back and talk about that. Are you up for that?
Great. Sure.
Awesome.
Thing.
All right, friends, we're going to take a look at Ysabelle's work with audio description. So Rick, when you're ready, please hit play.
Creating Access presents the NB Disability Arts Collective, sponsored by Arts NB and the City of Fredericton. The artist showcase features Kira Gauguin, Ryan Annett, Ysabelle Vautour, LauriAnne Vautour, and Cassandra Mazariegos. Audio description narration provided by Kira Gauguin. We thank you and hope you've enjoyed the show as well as this audio description. Ysabelle Vautour. The artist's work is divided into 4 groupings of paintings. All the paintings are framed in black with a white mat under glass, except for the last grouping that stands out as they are unframed, encaustics on wood. The 5 paintings of this grouping are all different sizes, placed in a similar fashion than a puzzle. They are in the center of the room. Kind Stranger. 11 by 14 inches, framed watercolor on paper. We start with the painting of an Egyptian man done in soft pastel colors of purple, mauve, and yellow. The watercolor paints, where he blends into the background, has a kind of effervescent feel. He is looking directly at the viewer with what looks to be the beginning of a smile, of a kind stranger. Caring Stranger, 11 by 14 inches, framed pastel on paper. The subject is a woman with lovely angelic blue eyes and blonde hair in pastel shades. She is also looking at the viewer with soft, kind gaze of a caring stranger. She is wearing garments of dark, rich purple, and the background is green. The artist used pastel on paper. Next, we see a grouping of 6 8x10 black-framed small portrait paintings characteristic of the artist's style, which are faces with expressions that reflect mood and feelings. On the bottom row, from left to right, a close-up view of a very expressive face, uncertain expression looking at the viewer. A watercolor done in dark shades of purple and black painted in non-traditional contrasting colors called Stuck in Time. Next, in the center, The work titled New Generation has its message embodied in the form of a smiling infant. It's done in monochromatic colors of white, black, cream, and gold. The eyes are very large and invite the viewer to hope and trust in the future. Next is a painting done with Gansai watercolor, a traditional form of Japanese watercolor based in sumi inks. Its subject, a young woman with her eyes looking up in prayer and in contemplation. Her skin is white. The colors are also monochrome, done in warm shades of cream, browns, gold, and blue. Now, from top right to left, pictured is an art piece using ink on paper. The subject's name and the title of the piece is Nav, a beautiful, black-bearded Sikh man with sharp, bold, vibrant, colorful clothing. He is surrounded by pops of color, hot pinks, mauves, and he is also wearing a white turban called a pagri. The subject is looking sideways from the viewer in what could be interpreted as expectation. The next art piece is of gouache on paper of a black woman with an afro-styled haircut with pops of orange gold in her many tight curls. Her expression reflects the title of this piece, Confidence. Ysabelle once again used non-traditional colors with the subject's face being royal blue. The painting's background is mauve and white, and her dress is a tapestry of gold and red. She is wearing 2 necklaces and matching earrings. One necklace is red in a scalloped shape, and one is beaded white. The last piece of the 6-block series is of a woman looking down, eyes closed, in meditation. The colors chosen for this mixed media painting were black, orange, and hits of purple detailing a cream yellow complexion. We now move on to a cluster of 4, 9x12s in black frames called the Disability Art Series. Let's look at these from top left to right. The medical model is a young woman with shoulder-length hair, dark eyes, and tan skin, looking away from the viewer. Her expression of slight concern, listening intently with lips pressed. This piece is monochrome in brown and cream colors. The top surface of this piece, the artist sketched in white lines so it appears to have splinters and fractures of the glass. The social model. A profile of a bearded man facing the viewer left with light creamed colored skin, medium brown wavy hair, and dark eyes. He is wearing a blue shirt and purple colored vest. Superimposed is a white wheelchair cut out with the written text as follows. We live both hypervisible and invisible lives. Don't treat our needs the same as preferences. We need empathy. Get to know us. Accessibility is built through relationship. Bottom left to right. A young woman is centered on the page with a blue-green scarf covering her eyes, yellow and pink colored complexion, and full pink colored lips speaking, "Listen to dis." These are her words captured in a white bubble above her head. Her head and shoulders are peeking through the center of a flower of green tapered leaves radiating outwards. A lady is seated in a wheelchair, her Hot Wheels, which is the title of this piece. Her complexion and arms are non-traditional in shades of green, blouse is dark blue, legs are tan in color, hair is short blue and brown. She is wearing a white mask on her face with a blue pattern designed on it. The black blotched colored eyes and raised brows are expressing what could be interpreted as concern. The intricate background is light blue and dark blue with patterns of white swirls. The shapes look like almond-shaped blue eyes and circles and peace symbols. The last cluster of the 5 encaustic paintings goes well together, as if they were one big painting, unified by abstracted style, with lots of texture and lively flecks of paint, as if the artist was moving very quickly with big sweeping gestures. Up next are 2 highlighted paintings, Hire Me and Veil. Let's look at Veil. Roughly 12 by 12 inches, encaustic and mixed media on wood, has a faded woman in the center blocks of color of orange and burgundy, which envelop her as if she is peeking behind a veil. A small metal chain drapes across the top and trickles down the left side. On the right side, A black and gray printed pattern is embodied in a piece of fabric with colors of orange and green. It is carved as well as raised texture in this piece. Now let's examine Hire Me. Hire Me is 16 by 12 inches and is encaustic on wood. It has a moody feel. On the top left large is an 80s style sunglasses floating at an angle in the wild abstract background. To the right, there is the iconic silhouette of a blind figure in red and black, walking with a red cane facing forward, but below the glasses. The background is of orange, yellow, whites, and grays. A mix and scribblings indicate a busy street, wall art, or obstacles on the walking path to Hire Me. Emergence, 12 inches by 12 inches, encaustic on wood. Disability is not a bad word. 12 by 16 inches, encaustic on wood. Square blue 1, 9 by 6 inches, encaustic on wood. And
Okay, we're gonna just highlight a couple of those because there's lots of them to, to be able to feature, of course. So Rick, when you're ready, I'm gonna have you bring up the first image, which is called the medical model. 422 is your time code, Rick, if you need that. So while Rick is bringing that up, Ysabelle, I have a couple of questions because the audio description tells us about all these different formats in which you're painting in. So they mentioned Gansai watercolors, ink, pastel, encaustic on wood, mixed media painting. I don't know what all of these different mediums are. So maybe you can break down some of those and what the differences are.
So when I did when I started my art practice, I like to try different mediums, and so they all look they have a different look to them. So this particular one is mixed media. So it's basically a watercolor woman who looks a bit confused and distressed, and there's like, it looks like there's or at least it reminds me of when somebody looks in the mirror and the mirror is shattered. So there's like white cracks that you can see on her face. So for me, that kind of symbolized that she was broken when she looked in the mirror. You know what I mean? Like society views her as broken, like there's something wrong with the, you know what I mean? Like the disability that she has. And therefore that's the medical model, as opposed to the other painting where
wait, before you get into the social model, because we're going to bring that one up, but for folks who don't know what the medical model is, can you just unpack that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So it's basically essentially what I was saying, that your disability is on you. It's your fault. It's you're the different one, so it's your responsibility, sort of thing. So as opposed to the environment not being conducive to what you need, right? So yeah.
And the medical model is often related literally to the medical system, which is,
yes,
you're broken, how can we fix you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And this one, remind me what medium this is.
It's watercolor with ink.
So what is watercolor with ink, just so we know what that is?
Watercolor is a type of paint where it's quite liquid. Mm-hmm. That's the name, watercolor. It's a kind of airy quality, transparent. There's like transparency that happens in watercolor. So there's like a softness and fragility to it. So it kind of goes with that particular theme.
And so is the ink mixed into the watercolor, or are you applying ink on top of watercolor?
The ink is on top. So it looks kind of like I said, a broken mirror, as if it was shattered.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, in the description, of course, you've painted a lot of portrait pieces. This is also a portrait.
It is a portrait. Yes.
Is this a real person that you know, or did you conjure this portrait in your mind?
No, this is a conjuring.
Are all of your portraits conjuring?
No, no. Some of them are people that I know. Some of them I found like a reference image of a person I just thought had an interesting face or an interesting expression. And some of them I just kind of wing it. And this was one of them that I mean, it does look a little like me. And I think a lot of that happens a lot when you're an artist, that you tend to paint yourself a little bit because you see your features the most, you know, if you look in the mirror every day. So
well, we certainly know that Van Gogh painted himself a lot, so
yeah. But I mean, like, you can intentionally paint yourself, but sometimes you unintentionally paint yourself a little bit. So yeah.
Rick, I'm going to get you to bring up the social model, which is the other painting, and I chose these two particular out of the lineup because the social model and the medical model are two very well-known constructs in the disability community, and you're really saying something with these two pieces. So this is the social model that you've got up, and maybe, you know, we had heard the image description, but maybe you can just remind us what.
Yeah, you've probably forgotten it by now. I get it. So essentially, it's a profile of a man. They're a bearded man who's white. Well, given the crazy colors, he's not traditionally painted in regular skin tone. He's got that cracked mirror effect all around him. So in the other painting, it was on her face, and in this painting, it's all around him. So his face is like clean, it's clear. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that on it. Right. And layered on top of him is like that. I don't know if there's a name for that, but you know, the wheelchair parking symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The very classic outline of a wheelchair in profile, and the way that it's layered on his face, it looks kind of like he has headphones on or something, because it's like laid on top of his ear, and like maybe it has like a mouthpiece or something a little bit. And so there's just on the thing.
Yeah. Sorry, just to describe the image. So if you're folks who aren't seeing this with us, the head of the wheelchair using symbol is like on the side temple covering the ear of this person. Yes. And the back of the wheelchair, so the rounded part of the wheel, encompasses his entire shoulder. So this takes up, this is layered on top of him through the entire entity of the portrait. It's not just a little tiny symbol.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Front and center and in your face, and in it had this lovely text. Where did you come up with this text? We need empathy. See us for who we are. Where did you come up with that?
It's just what I was thinking. Sometimes when I listen to people talk about disability, I always try to synthesize what people mean to say. You know, sometimes people say things and it's not quite what they mean. You know, they'll give an example and it's not, you know what I mean? So that to me is when I listen to a lot of people talking, that seems to be the general theme that people talk about is, you know, I wish you could see me for who I am. I wish, you know, because I forget, I don't quite remember the text, but something about we lead hyper visible and invisible lives. So I feel like, for me anyway, I don't know about your experience, but I grew up in a little hamlet, and in my school, I was the only person with visual impairment in my school, and I think I was only maybe one or two with a disability, period. And you know, everybody in my school knew that I had that. So I was like, even people I didn't meet knew who I was, and I was that blind girl, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of like a little celebrity in my town, if that makes sense.
Right. Which could make you both popular and not popular at the same time.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, you know, and like a celebrity, you kind of, you know, there's a distance there. You don't really know them, you know of them, right? So only, you know, good friends know who I am, but it's like, yeah, that's how I've been feeling, because there's this apprehension of what disability means, you know, like the fact that there's such a thing as Disability Awareness Week, just I think is hilarious, because it's like, I think people are aware that disabilities exist, but they're not aware is how it feels to live in a disabled body and to feel what ableism feels like, you know what I mean? So
yeah, and that when you go home, you still have a disability. So like, it's like when you teach about disability stuff, you know, everybody else takes the day off, you know, that they go home at the end of the day and they go, oh, I don't have to think about that till I go to work tomorrow. And it's like, but those of us who live it and there is no air quotes escape. It is, you know, it's our life, it's our lived experience. And I find that a lot in people that I talk to and I do trainings with, is like, you know, they just go home and they forget about what they learned.
Yeah, and it's even for me, like I know people with disabilities that I don't have.
Yeah.
And that tends to stick in my mind, you know, like I remember, I'm like, oh, okay, for this person, you know, I think about my needs, of course, but then when I kind of scan the environment, I also think about them because I have a relationship with them. And in that text, I think it mentions accessibility is done through relationship. So for me, that seems to be how it is. Like if you have a personal connection with somebody, you remember them. It's kind of a love thing. And a disability advocate, I forget who it is now, has, like, there's a hashtag that exists out there that disability is love. And I believe a lot of other disabled folks, there's a book about care work and disability care and things like that. So in the disability justice movement, there's kind of that theme going on as well.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack here, and obviously, no, it's great, Ysabelle, because when we get back to our Q&A with all the artists together, we can unpack some of this as a collective, because you're all saying some stuff with your work here, and I think that'll be a really interesting conversation. Before we showcase the next artist, encaustic on wood kept coming up. Can you tell us what that medium is?
What it is? Yeah. Fair enough. Encaustic is actually wax. So it's hot wax. So in the description, it said something like, there's lots of flecks of pain as if the artist was moving quickly. That's exactly what I was doing. I was moving very quickly because the wax doesn't stay wet very long. So you have to be very quick, or you have to, you know how to handle a blowtorch, which I wasn't using for that particular set of paintings. And I'm sure my mother is very happy to hear that no blowtorches were involved.
It's good to know, because I know that term comes up a couple of times as we move on with our other artists. So it's good for us to know now what that entails. I had to Google it. I didn't know what it meant either. So
okay, fair enough.
Yeah. It would have been lovely if in the audio description it was shared what that was, and then we, would know going through.
Yes, it was our first run at audio describing. So I took a stab at it, and then my mom also edited it, and then Kira is who's not here unfortunately, who's one of the artists in this show, read it. So she's the voiceover actress, which is great.
Well, there's always things to learn as we unpack description and what we need and what we like and all those kinds of things, of course.
Yes, definitely would like to redo it for sure.
Well, maybe you'll get an opportunity, you can keep developing those skills. All right, Ysabelle, I'm going to say goodbye to you just for the moment. And I know that you're going to be in the wings, and we're going to welcome Ryan into the space and just say a quick hello to Ryan when our screens change over. And Rick, you can get prepared for my go on Ryan's part of the video.
Hey.
All right, Ryan, welcome to the space. So you all are joining from Manitoba, which is 4 hours in the future. From Pacific time anyway. So thank you. It's almost tomorrow for you. Before we play your little video, not little, but the clip of the audio description of your installation, is there anything you'd like to set us up for before we have a listen and a watch of that?
No, not really.
You want to give us a little bit of a background of what kind of artist you are?
I'm a mixed media artist. I mainly work with ink and watercolor. Actually, while Ysabelle was talking, and I just messed around and did that.
Are you doing a little drawing?
Yeah, I was just got off of vacation, and I did a lot of like on plein air, just really exploring myself and grounding with nature, and I did a lot of photography, and I got like 600 pictures to work with. So yeah, should be a busy couple months.
Wow.
And I do crypto art, so like I'm an NFT artist, so.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna have lots of stuff to talk about. I can feel that in my bones, because I think there may be people who don't know what NFTs are, that kind of thing. So we can talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, Ryan. Well, maybe what we'll do is we'll have Rick play the portion of the video that's got your collection in it, and then we'll come back and we'll have a chat with you about it.
Cool.
All right, Rick, when you're ready, let's play Ryan's work.
And now we will feature the work of Ryan Annett. This painting depicts a scene of the St. Martin's Caves. The orange-colored sandstone caves are shaped by the Bay of Fundy tides, and they can be reached by trails over the ocean floor during low tide. The cave in this painting is very large and has mature conifer trees growing on top of the natural jelly from the shore. This piece allows the viewer to stand on the pebbled shore overlooking the cave entrance. The artist uses a technique of line and wash. The subject is drawn out in pen and watercolor is applied on top. Normandy. 18 by 9 inches, framed watercolor painting. A street view of the town of Normandy, France, using line and wash. The watercolor used are white, orange, black, gray, and yellow. The viewer is at the bottom of the street, looking upward as if they are walking into the alley between the street-lined buildings. Mevagissey, England. 15 by 11 inches, framed watercolor painting. This line and wash watercolor shows a fishing village on the right top of the painting, and its boats in the bay in the foreground of the painting. On the left, you can see the wharf and its channeled path to the open sea. Ireland. 15 by 11 inches, framed watercolor painting. A painting of line and wash watercolor showing a one-sided street scene in Ireland. The buildings are of stone, some natural gray colors, and others painted yellow, typical of the Irish stone row house cottages. French Alps. 18 by 9 inches, framed watercolor painting. A painting of line and wash watercolor showing a street in the center with a white picket fence on the viewer's right in front of mature deciduous trees with full foliage of green leaves. The center of the painting is the French Alps in summer, showing extensive green shades. On the left are large stone homes in sandstone color with an orange clay tiled roof. A person dressed in dark clothing, wearing a large brimmed hat, is leisurely walking away on the sidewalk. France. 15 by 11 inches, framed watercolor painting. A line and wash watercolor painting showing a street scene in France. At the bottom, looking upwards, the viewer sees an adjacent street connecting to a bridge over pond going into the village of large sand-colored stone houses on either side of the street, some with blue, red, yellow roofs. Santorini living, 18 by 9 inches, framed watercolor painting. A line and wash watercolor painting of the front of a muted orange-colored sandstone house decorated with vibrant pink flowers and green-leaved vines growing on its exterior walls. The front stoop is directly onto the cobblestone street. The house has Aegean blue-colored brim along its door and window frames with the same blue chairs that await the visitors to enjoy the Santorini living in Greece. Autumn, 15 by 11 inches, framed watercolor painting. At Peace, 15 by 11 inches, framed watercolor painting. The artist chose to have a large black and yellow colored bumblebee at rest in the center of a large blue petal flower, and in the surrounding background are smaller blue buds and green foliage. The watercolor is very simple in its open and airy conception. Waterfall. Watercolor painting, 15 by 11 inches, Confederation Bridge. This is a 3 feet by 3.5 feet watercolor painting with digital enhancements on canvas of the Confederation Bridge. The painting is soft and gentle, colors of white, off-white, gold, and blue. These colors are all collaged together, blending in cloud-like forms to give the viewer a hint of the ocean. Blue water of the Northumberland Strait in the foreground, and a black line stretched across the canvas, forming the box girder bridge named Confederation Bridge, connecting New Brunswick to Prince Edward Island, Canada.
Okay. I'm getting the vibe of what you do here, Ryan. Remind us, because the description did tell us, but it goes pretty fast. What is line in wash? That's the technique you use, right?
Yeah, it's typically what I do is just ink pens, and I'll just sketch it out, and then I'll throw the watercolor on it, and yeah, just have fun with it.
So then it kind of blurs the lines a little bit, like that soft kind of colorful blurring of them.
Yeah, like I just like the one that I just did there. I sketched it out. I'll hold it up to the camera.
Yeah, except most of us are blind in this space, so we don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, I know. It's
So
true.
you're writing it out with an ink pen in various colors, and then you're using the wash on top to just kind of take that colored line and blend it a little bit.
Move it all around. Yeah.
Move it all around. Okay, interesting. You're painting a lot of landscape stuff. You know, Normandy and cities in France and Santorini. Are these places that you have been to that you're sketching, or are you finding like images online? Where are you getting the inspiration to paint these things?
So the inspiration behind it was that, like, I'm a family of 5. I don't have a lot of money to travel. And I was watching YouTube, and I was watching Paul Clark, who's a UK artist, and he said that you can use Google Maps as a reference point for creating your art. So you can jump on Google Maps and you can travel around the world and find places that inspire you, and then you can paint them. And I was like, all right, I like that. You know, these are places that I'll probably never get to, and I get to check them out sitting in my studio. So it's pretty cool.
Is there one of these places that you painted that you are like, oh, I got to get there one day? I got to get there.
My bucket list place is probably Italy.
Yeah.
I want to go to Venice. Yeah. Someday.
I have been to Venice a very long time ago, but it is quite stunning, but also quite, I will say, some of it's a little bit shocking because it was dirtier than I expected it to be. But it's worth the visit if you ever get there. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about is how you got started in this medium.
So I went to art school and I dropped out. And I dropped out because my art teacher had told me that's not art. And I was like, I've been like drawing and painting since I could pick up a pencil. So art to me is like something that comes from in here, right?
In your heart, yeah.
Your heart, yeah, in the heart. And so I dropped out, and I went 11 years without creating anything because it just killed my creativity. And then it wasn't until I got glaucoma and I lost my right eye that I was like, you know what? I could either sit here and cry about this impairment that I have, or I could just show people that, hey, I can do this too. You know, I can still create art, and you know, now I've sold it internationally, so it's pretty cool.
That is pretty darn cool to be able to say that you are an artist that has international reach. When you say you've sold internationally, you know, can you give us an idea of what countries you've sold to?
I've sold to Russia, I've sold to Scotland, I've sold to Australia, quite a few places in the UK.
Wow.
Spain, stateside like Colorado, Canada, obviously, but
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's disappointing to me. We have talked in this space before when we have had artists about what art is, and this belief that art needs to come from specific techniques that are taught, right, as opposed to, like you said, what comes from your heart, which, as we just realized, heart is spelled with art in it. So
Exactly.
where's the best place for it to come from, right? From our heart and our soul and our experience. I want to pull up the Normandy. So Rick, when you have a chance, pull up Normandy for us. And okay, let's talk a little bit about this one, because I in full disclosure, I've also had the privilege of visiting Normandy. This is really very recollective of like your typical old European street, which is quite interesting. So the buildings are very old and they're very close together. They're like a car width's length apart. So you can't really get two cars up and down these little side streets. But tell me, in terms of, you know, your process for this, you know, obviously you use Google Maps and you found a photo, but what's your process like when you turn that photo into a painting, and how long does that take you to do?
I used to like take a lot of time to do it. Sometimes it would take like 4 hours. I think this piece took like 2 hours. I mean, I only started painting like last year, but I have like close to 600 paintings done.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a machine. Yeah, but this piece here, like Normandy, fun fact, this is where Monet lived. And Monet is like one of my favorite painters because of the Impressionism and seeing colors and shapes and blur, you know, globs of color, right? So I was like, I'm going to do where Monet grew up and where he lived in the whatever time, 1800s or whatever it was. No, I don't know.
And these are quite muted colors. So they're not like bold and in your face. Were those the actual colors that were in the photo representation, or was that your creativity that came up with those colors?
It was in the photo. Yeah, and just splash color on, see what happens. And
so you try and keep things as representative of the photo as possible?
Yeah, so it's more like an urban sketch, which is like a really fast and loose kind of just where the line goes, and you know, just enjoy the process, and you know, see where it takes you. So I don't know, it's hard to explain my style, I guess, because I'm still trying to like discover who I am as an artist.
Yeah.
So I don't know what people, and where I'm self-taught, right? Because I dropped out of art school. It's kind of like a, you know, it's a mixture of.
Yeah, you need to put that behind you, my friend.
Yeah.
Because I would call this art for sure. So, but I guess how I interpret this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the lines are imperfect, right? So it's not like you took a ruler and like, you know, so you're interpreting what you can see with your level of sight into your hand, and you're just like free sketching that. And I'm guessing that for you, as it comes out like you don't go back and say, oh, I got to make this perfect. This is, you know,
that's why I draw with pen and I don't draw with pencil. I don't erase mistakes.
There's a permanency there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're not going back.
People on Twitter call me the Bob Ross of NFTs, you know, just happy little accidents.
Bob Ross of NFTs. I love that. For folks who don't know what NFTs are, maybe you can just unpack that a little bit for us.
Yeah, sure. NFT stands for non-fungible token. So I sell my artwork for cryptocurrency, and it's, you know, it's a bear market right now, which means that not a lot of people are selling, but I've been doing that for 16 months. And, you know, like I have celebrities that follow me, like Paris Hilton, Hilton, really? And Gary Vee, he's another guy that follows me. And, you know, I've made like $17,000 from just NFT sales, and it's pretty cool. And I just dropped a new collection. Actually, I posted a lot today. I did my first boudoir photography session, and let me tell you, that was different. Definitely. But it was, you know, I'm always trying something new, because that's what art is, right? It's a journey. And with the vision loss, I want to do as much as I can because I don't know if I could lose my left eye, right? So,
Yep.
I'm just trying to do everything I can.
That totally resonates with me because I often call myself an artist of opportunity. If it comes up, I want to give it a try. So that's really great. I think we're gonna, when we come back in our joint Q&A, I'm gonna ask folks about, and you can start to marinate on this, but to talk about other art things that they're doing. So you can talk a bit about your photography and maybe this boudoir thing that you just did, because it sounds really interesting.
It is pretty cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you so much for sharing. You're going to stick around in the wings, and we're going to transition into talking to Cassandra. So we're just going to do our little square switch here, and Rick's going to get ready to play Cassandra's part of the video. Welcome, Cassandra. How are you this evening?
I hope, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, my friend.
Hello.
Cassandra, maybe you can give us an idea of what kind of artist you are before we experience the video with your work.
I honestly don't know what kind of artist particularly I am. I just I just graduated from art school actually. So, and it was interesting going to the school and having a bunch of classmates who would say they've been drawing for like since I was like 17 or 15. I only started this like 5 years ago. So it was rather interesting because all my classmates have been drawing for a long time and I just started.
What was it that made you, I don't know, gave you the inspiration to start drawing?
I did a paint and sip for my 26th birthday. It's like, yeah, but a host come in and show you how to paint a picture basically, and you're supposed to sip wine or whatever it is, paint sip. But the instructor who was teaching us how to paint showed us to use different techniques like sponges and debit cards to make straight lines and stuff. And by the end of our painting, I was just, because I have it's called ataxia. So it's like involuntary muscle movement. So my hands are really shaky sometimes. So I was quite surprised that when I was done, I could tell what it was, what the image was. So I was pretty happy with that. So I kept like doing it, and I looked on the internet to find other like techniques to use to make paintings, and I know I found out like Q-tips and cotton. Well, Deborah Saran wrap, there is a whole bunch. Toothbrush.
Cool.
So many different techniques you can use. And with my movements, it kind of worked really good for me.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to check out this portion of the video. So, Rick, we're going to get you to play Cassandra's work, and then we're going to come back and we'll have a chat about the work. Cassandra?
Let's have a look at our next artist, Cassandra Mazariegos. Cass's piece, called My Aura, is a photograph of a rainbow prism on the floor that expands into an arc. You can see the shadow of the wheelchair wheel superimposed on the floor with soft refracted light. Reflections. A framed 10-inch by 8-inch painting done in acrylic paint on canvas. The subject is a landscape of a crisp blue body of water centered on the canvas, surrounded by green mature conifer trees and multiple shrubs. There are blue skies above with fluffy white clouds. In the distance across from the water is a hint of a town and a valley below, a very large snow-covered mountain in the very distance. surprise. A large white birch tree is in the center left with lots of vertical lines of various widths and delicate rose-colored flowers in the abstracted background. The painting is called Surprise. It is with vibrant colors of lavender, blue, orange, greens, pinks, and black. Cavalry. 10 inches by 8 inches. A soft, hazy, transparent watercolor painting of a landscape scene of a mountain of shades of brown that sits on the right with 3 large black crosses, which have a halo of white surrounding it. The sky is of the pastel colors of yellow, pink, and blue, mimicking the color of Easter eggs. There appears to be a brown cloaked figure who appears to be walking up to the top of the mountain. Wonder. 8 by 10 inches, framed, gouache. This piece is done in gouache. It's a scene of a young girl in a field of green grass dressed in red with a large branch overhead on the top portion of the painting, covered in apple blossoms.
Okay. Just before we bring up one of your images, tell me what gouache is. That was a style or a medium that you use. What is gouache?
It's like I think Ysabelle Vautour told me this. Like it's like a mix between watercolor and acrylic. I would say it's more of a permanent. I would say it's a more permanent paint than watercolor. Watercolor seems really thin sometimes, and gouache is a little bit thicker, but I really like it. We use that in my school a lot, and I like it because water can reactivate it. Like you can like put some out on your palette and you can let it dry and then water will reactivate it. I guess the same with watercolor, but
Oh, that's so interesting. I've never heard of gouache before. So thank you for sharing what that is. Let's bring up My Aura, which is the first painting, photo that we saw of yours. So this is quite interesting to me because we've got this rainbow effect, this kaleidoscope of color that comes through sort of the image, the shadowed image of a wheelchair's spoked wheel. So can you tell me a bit about how you created this and what you're saying with this piece?
Honestly, it was amazing because it wasn't intended at all. Like I think I just came to my art studio to get something, and I had my iPad with me, and that sticker is on the window, and the sunlight comes through and makes that colors on the floor, and I went through and saw the shadow in the rainbow on the floor. So I was like, that would make a really cool picture. And I had my iPad with me, so I took a picture of that. I don't know. To me, it means like my aura is like that. Like I'm so colorful and out there, but I don't know, like a lot of people only see their chair, and I don't know. I find them very quiet now, but my personality is pretty out there. I guess I don't know.
You can see the personality just shining through in these blobs of colored light, which is really very interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Tell me a bit about your process, Cassandra, and how you create these various works that you do. Do you think of an idea and get an inspiration? Do you bring the canvas in and just see what happens? What's your process like?
Well, I've always been taking pictures, and like I like taking pictures and stuff, but lately I found like I just recently started doing like my images from my own head that I created, because a lot of my work before was like a lot of copies of things I've seen online. I
Mhm.
would just try them, but just recently I started doing kind of my own imagery. And the last two that I tried to do was I seen like just in like regular day things, like I saw a piece of clothes that fell in on the floor and made kind of like a body shape on the floor. So I took a picture of it and I was looking at the picture. I was like, it reminds me of like the white outline of a body in a crime scene.
Hmm.
So that's what I created. It's one of my newer pieces. It's a charcoal background with a white around to make a body shape, and I did that with an eraser pen. And then
Wow.
to emphasize it, I flicked on some red paint to make it look like blood. But it was I don't know, like I don't know. It's definitely less colorful than I usually do, but then my next one I haven't finished it yet, but I just like it's so funny how I saw it. I saw it in blankets. There was a fuzzy sticking out, and it looked like a person who is tilling, like in a garden. And so I'm currently working on a piece that is a tilling like in the garden. It's so funny how those things come to me now. But before I would just pick something I saw that was colorful and I liked it.
Hmm. Well, you certainly have work that is like each piece is quite different from each other. It's quite bold and there's lots of interesting colors and all that kind of stuff. So I know that we're going to have some things that we can explore when we do the full Q&A with all the artists. So for now, I'm just going to thank you, Cassandra, for sharing your work in this space. And we're going to take a look at LauriAnne's work. So we'll come back and talk to Cassandra when we bring back all of our artists. So LauriAnne is our last artist to experience this evening. Last but not least, of course. So when we've got LauriAnne in the space, we can take a look at LauriAnne's work. And LauriAnne's joining us by touch tone phone, so we won't have a camera image for LauriAnne this evening, but my VocalEye team will let me know when we've got LauriAnne, or LauriAnne will pipe on in. Just give a moment to see if LauriAnne's with us. Okay, friends, I think maybe what we'll do is, Rick, why don't you play LauriAnne's video, and when LauriAnne's ready to step on in, we can talk to her after we watch her the video of her work. So let's go ahead and do that. Hang tight for a moment, friends. We're going to hit play.
LauriAnne Vautour, Dove, framed, acrylic on canvas board. On top of the pale gray background with shades of blue sits a white dove looking to the side of a thin, dark tree branch. Painted in acrylic with lively brushstrokes, we see a lot of delightful texture as we move around the canvas. Bird of colors, 9x12, acrylic on canvas. A mixture of pastel rainbow colors like pinks, blues, and greens in the soft and beautiful blended hazy background of organic and abstract shapes. In the foreground on the bottom left is a yellow-breasted bird perched on a tree branch. The bird is in profile, looking right. It has absorbed all of the pastel colors of this environment, with the same colors on his feathers. On the bird's feathers is a daisy petal-shaped flower and the ancient symbols of the sun and the crescent moon. The yellow-breasted bird embodies the positive qualities of this color. Yellow is the color of joy, happiness, optimism, and good fortune. Hence, this colorful bird is leading you to create an environment where you want to bring more happiness and opportunity into your life. Flowers blue. 11 inches by 14 inches acrylic on canvas. The artist used a palette knife technique which creates a raised texture. The subject of dark blue flowers is on a divided background of half black and half white. The black and white background creates a sharp contrast to the viewer in the use of white. Red. 12 by 16 inches, mixed media on wood. This is a fabric collage. There are also the colors black, white, and pinks. Patterns of polka dots, lines, flowers, and geometric shapes. The main colors throughout are dark, bold uses of red and black. This piece also has a black metal monoscope attached in the center. The monoscope has a long black cord, which is draped in the art piece. There are key words cut from a newspaper with the message of "Stop Ableism," and there is also the message of courage. And this concludes our virtual gallery for the Disability Art Series. Thank you so much for your time and for listening. If you have any questions and pricing inquiries, feel free to reach out to us.
Okay, so LauriAnne, if you're on your touch tone phone, you can hit *6 to unmute. We may not be able to put you up in a square, but Sarah's gonna just spotlight me. So you'll get to see my face and hear LauriAnne's voice in the background. So let's give LauriAnne a moment, and VocalEye team can make sure that LauriAnne has permission to unmute. Some very interesting work that was just shared for what we were experiencing with LauriAnne's work. And I'm really interested to talk about some of the pieces in particular. And maybe while we're waiting, we can get Rick to bring up the piece called Red.
I see that LauriAnne has said hi in the chat there.
Yeah, I see that as well. I'm not going to be great at reading the chat. Oh, hang on.
One suggestion is if LauriAnne, if you're not able to unmute yourself on the phone by pressing the star button and 6 on your keypad on the phone, if that doesn't work, you could also try calling back in again. And then when you join in this time, you should be unmuted from the get-go. In the meantime, I'll put up the.
Great, Rick. Thanks for putting up the photo. Technical difficulties are a fun thing in this space, friends. Thank you so much for being chill about it, because sometimes we have no control over these little technical gremlins. But Rick's going to bring up the photo Red, and I'm going to share with you all some of the things that strikes me about this photo, and some things that this piece, some things that I want to ask LauriAnne about. So here we go. We've got Red sticking up, and so this is this seems to me, from my level of sight, which is quite limited, but I get this like collaged patchwork of different textures and colors. Think of it, if you will, as a patch made quilt, but instead of the patches being, square by square by square, for example, that are all neat, they kind of feel like they're layered on top of each other. Oh, is that LauriAnne? Do I hear LauriAnne?
Yes, hi. I've been having such a hard time.
Congratulations. We have success. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for your patience. Oh my goodness.
No problem. Where there's a will, there's a way, right, LauriAnne?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, thank you for joining us. LauriAnne, maybe you can give us an idea, because we didn't get to ask you this before, but what kind of art medium are you practicing with? Or mediums, plural?
Well, that's just it. I'm practicing my initial foray into art is with oil. I loved oil, And so I kind of set that aside. I haven't painted in a long, long time. And then when Ysabelle got into her art, it kind of just inspired me. She's so inspirational. Anyway, and now I'm kind of saying yes to lots of things. So she came home with a friend of hers, scraps of material. I just kind of went, oh my gosh, I could do this with that. I could do this. So that's what I did. And this series of colors, this is the first piece that I did, red, and I used just all different colors of red. And then, of course, I find words are very important. And I guess which is new to me, to say a message. And also I thought, oh, well, Ysabelle's now, she's been out of the house living in Fredericton. We live in Grand Verchois here. And I thought, well, here's a good way to perhaps put some of her tools that she used for her low vision. And I thought, it's quite a message. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit more about red. So you got a bunch of random materials that were kind of in shades of red, and did what with them?
Well, Ysabelle had come home with scraps of materials. She has a friend that does quilting, and all the material had the scraps were all labeled in different bags. So I had all the colors to choose from, and I just thought, oh, Ysabelle is Ysabelle being my inspiration, as I mentioned. We've been kind of a tag team in art for a long, long time. Doing projects for school and everything else. And because of her low vision, and she only sees monochromatic, is that how you say? Yeah, black and white and shades of gray. And so colors have been always like, well, what color is this? And what
a mystery,
what yeah. It's been a real mystery, and it to be honest, it blows my mind that she doesn't see color. Like. It's anyway, so I thought, well, to kind of support her in her venture, in her art, and also kind of just have fun, because I come from a long line of quilters myself. My grandmother did, and her mother, and my mother sewed most of my clothes when I went to school. So fabrics and different fabrics and things have always been an interest to me. And lately, in the last year or so, I've just got these inspirations to do this, and I just run with it. It's been so much fun. And so that's what I've done. I've just taken the colors. I took the red bag, and I just kind of collaged everything, because that's what it is. It's a collage.
It is. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I collaged it together, different colors of red and different textures. I was trying just to. And then what I did also was, because I thought, oh, I could say something with this. Yes, okay, I'm going to say something with it. So I put stop ableism, and to do so, takes a lot of courage. And red stands for courage, or there's a philosophy and a psychology to colors also. You can go as deep as you want. And also, I don't want to, how would I say this? I know what I wanted to say, but I also would like and appreciate other people when they see it or, hear of it, that, they form their own perception of what it means to them. And so I don't want to, overload the interpretation of the piece. So, and as I mentioned, I also added, so each of the colors that I did, I believe I did 11, yeah, and of this series. And then I put low vision tools that Ysabelle used when she went to school, or, when she used mostly when she went to school, because most of them were damaged, like there was such a lot of wear and tear when you're a child. So that's what I did. Yeah.
And the process for putting this together in terms of collage, like are you using glue? What's the medium that you use to put all this together?
Yeah. So what it is, it's on a wood canvas, and which is, I can't remember the size of that. I think it's 11 by 16 or something similar to that.
Yeah.
And there is a medium that Ysabelle introduced me to. Like I said, this is totally new because I was just doing oil.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was kind of encouraged by watching her, because she was just experimenting on all this stuff. She says, "You want to try the encaustic, Mom?" I'm going, no. Anyway, so like I said, fabric. I'm very familiar with fabric and things, and I thought, oh, okay, this is cool. And I like putting things together, and and I used oh my God, what is it called?
It's a fabric glue. It's called
It's like a
fabric glue.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I used. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. It's a
Yeah.
really interesting piece, and I guess as outside of this this little video showcasing of all of the collective of work, you said you've done 11 pieces like this, right? So in different colors, like a yellow,
Yes.
maybe, and a blue and a green.
Yes, exactly.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
And
Do they all have words in them as well, LauriAnne? Like
Yep.
this one is about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, they do. Yeah, and they have also, which was so funny, Ysabelle, I said, "Ysabelle, I'm not going to do an orange." "Oh, Mom, you have to do an orange." I'm going, "Oh my gosh." My husband and I went for a walk about maybe a couple of days after we had discussed this, and I thought, well, okay, well, maybe. Anyway, and so we were walking, because I had no what do you call it? It's late for me. I'm brain dead. Let me see. I had no piece to put in, like a telescope or glasses or whatever. Anyway, I thought, oh, I've got a paintbrush that the handle is clear orange, like it looks like clear orange plastic or something. I thought, oh, I'll put that in there, because I said that kind of, represents what Ysabelle's doing, and also, paint, And then my husband and I were out walking, and all of a sudden we turned the corner, and I thought, what is that on the side of the road? My husband says, and I says, I don't know. I looked closer. I kid you not, it was a pair of sunglasses, and the frames were orange. I thought, okay, Ysabelle was correct. Maybe this was a sign that I had to do an orange one. And you know what? It's my favorite one.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Well, actually, the whole series was just. I remember just going to bed, trying to sleep, and my brain would not shut off, because it was like, oh my God, I was thinking of I made two boxes. One is black, one is white.
Yeah.
And the boxes, well, I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this to hang on the wall? And you can open them up, and they both hang, so in other words, you've got 4 different pieces, right? Because you've got all the interior, the exterior, the interior, So anyway, I figured it out, but I didn't sleep for a night. Anyway, it was pretty cool. Yep. So I said, I've been having a lot of fun.
Can you touch these pieces, like when they're in a gallery space? Are people invited to touch them, or they?
Sure.
Okay,
yeah,
so you can feel the different textures of the fabrics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can. They're mostly cotton blends, if you will. There's I believe they're very similar in texture. They're not. I believe, because they're used. Most of the fabric are used to do quilts, and in order to do a quilt, I mean, it's pretty much cotton,
right?
Or like a polyester. You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of there's no rayon or silk, or I mean, you can do quilts that way. There is an old Victorian quilt that you can do that with, and it's really interesting. Extra interesting in textures and that, and it's really nice to look at. But the bags that I got, I just kind of, and the recycling, I've always been a big recycler. I mean, we built our house, my husband and I, with my granddad and friends, and we recycled most of the things that we built the house with.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think maybe what we'll do at this time is we'll invite Cassandra back in, and Ryan back in, and Ysabelle back in, and we'll just have sort of a collective chat, and this will be our opportunity for folks in the community. If you have questions about any of these works, for any of these artists, things that resonated with you, things that you really enjoyed listening to or seeing, things that you have questions about, now's your chance. I'm going to kick off the conversation because I'm curious. This is the Disability Arts Collective, which means you all identify with disability, and I'm wondering if there are any barriers that you have all experienced in the creation of your work. I mean, we've heard a few things, Ryan talking about barriers that he experienced at school perhaps, and Cassandra sharing about ataxia, but like, are there any barriers, Ysabelle, for you that you've come across in terms of, I don't know, either creating the work or finding places to showcase the work?
For me, it's more the barriers of getting my work at places. So for example, to do like a market, I don't drive a car. I'm not going to go there by foot with a bunch of, you know what I mean? It's not, yep. It's very cumbersome to do that sort of thing. So I don't participate into markets, but, and I, like my mom said, I'm totally colorblind. So when she was talking about fabrics being in bags, like a red bag, well, she was sorting those bags out for me.
Right.
So I need assistance in terms of if I found objects, I need to know what colors they are. And so for my mom also helped a lot. Sorry, LauriAnne's my mom. Context. She what was I gonna say?
She helps you out a lot with something.
Yeah. Shoot, it's gone.
It'll come back to you. Maybe it'll come back to you like in 3 hours from now, and you have to send me an email. I can remember this thing.
Oh, the
thing. When your mother volunteered that you didn't see color, it made me think about the colors in which you were painting the portraits with, because often the description would say that these aren't like typical colors for,
right,
skin colors and greens and things like that. So is that part of the not seeing color, or what?
Yeah, so for example, what I like to tell people is it's like being a baker with no taste buds. So I can bake the cake, I can follow the ingredients, but I won't be able to notice the effects, right? It's like blind girls, like why would we dye our hair? Like, what is the point? We're not doing it for us.
Yeah.
Doing it for somebody else, right? So for me, and people ask me like a lot, why don't you just use black and white? And I'm like, because colors come in a set. I'm not gonna waste all these colors, right? So my thing that I do is I learn color theory, and I try to use limited things. So I guess I'm not answering your question. You talked about the obstacles. I'm talking about.
That's okay. It was a loaded question. So yeah, it's great.
Well, anyway, but yeah, essentially, I just use a complementary color scheme for the most part. And I try to remember, what colors go with what, because I do that all the time, right? Like, what color is a shirt? What are the colors, what does it go with? So it's like I have this memory bank of like what goes with what. But like I say, I don't know if it actually looks good. And I think that's why I started painting quite late in life, because that was a barrier for me. I didn't want to create things that are like, oh, if you do these, be muddy. And I'm like, I don't know what muddy means, but it doesn't sound good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Get that. Yeah. Almost the fear of getting it wrong socially, right? Or somebody's like, geez, we don't paint color, faces aren't in green, and you're like, why not? Why can't they be?
Yeah, and it took kind of like an art therapy approach, where it was like I was making these paintings for me, for my enjoyment, and then I was enjoying it so much that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do art every day for a year. And then of course, I got my art out there a little bit, because you have to participate in activities, which I wanted to do. And then I got like lots of feedback, because I wasn't expecting much, I was like, oh, whatever, like I like it was good for me. But I mean, it's like if you're a baker without taste buds offering a cupcake to somebody, it's like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. LauriAnne, for you, barriers? Then I'm gonna go to Ryan and Cassandra as well.
Barriers? Oh, In regards to doing my art, you mean?
Yeah. Do you find that there are any barriers for you?
Well, time, I guess, in actually sitting down and actually applying myself. Ysabelle, of course, is visually impaired, and I mean, she needed a lot of time growing up, and running a household. I'm a full-time nurse, registered nurse. I worked, and my husband had a workplace accident when Ysabelle was about 6 years old. So I had a busy time.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we built our house, and so for me to kind of block off some time to actually sit down and do art, I couldn't concentrate to do my art. My life was pretty stressful for a little while there, and when I knew I had to do dishes and I knew I had to, do this or do that, like, you know what I mean? My mind just kept going. And lately, now that I'm retired, well, I've seemed to be able to settle back into, oh, you know what? I'd like to do this a little bit more often. It does relax me, except
I'd
for
say, if I may, I say one of the barriers is with the writing of like applications, because I tend to assist you a lot doing that.
Yes.
It is quite difficult. That language isn't very clear, and there's a lot of, you know what I mean? It takes a lot of.
Grants are never in plain language. The questions.
No.
Ryan, for yourself, have you experienced any barriers?
Not really. I mean, like mental health barriers, maybe, like thinking that it's not good enough. You know what I mean? Like you go in periods of like not selling your art, I suppose.
And you wonder why people don't like it, right?
Yeah, you're like, oh, it really must suck. Like, but no, it's not. It's just waiting for the right people,
Yeah.
But it's hard to get past that. And like I'm fairly new to this whole not being able to see out of my one eye, so sometimes I forget until I run into a wall, and then I got.
Somebody asks you why you're bruised on one side of your body, right?
Yeah.
Cassandra, are there any barriers that you've experienced in terms of accessing, creating the art, finding spaces for the art?
There's so many, I don't know where to begin.
Top 3.
Oh, well, I know a big one is, well, first, I had a stroke in 2013, so my vision, I see double, and I also have this thing called nystagmus. So my vision is bouncy and constantly bouncy. So, I don't know, like I'll use a cracktail scraper to make straight lines. So I cannot make a straight line, even with a ruler, because I don't feel the left side of my body. I only feel the right side.
Right.
I know a lot of people that have strokes can't move their left side. On my camera's backwards, it looks like I'm pointing to my right, but this is my left.
Yeah, and you need, if you're going to use a ruler, you need both hands, right?
I do. So I tried it once, but with the ataxia in this side, that ruler is sideways and my line was sideways.
I would say that each of the barriers that you all shared in this space make your work uniquely special.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's something really powerful about what each of you have created, and it wouldn't have been the same had there not been, something to persevere through, I guess. I know we have a hand, so I'm going to just invite Megan to unmute, and you got a heart symbol in the space. So, and another hand, but go ahead, Megan.
Yes. Ryan, I remember you did a painting on Ireland. Do you know what part of Ireland you were painting?
I can't remember the name of the place, but one of my friends lives there, and that was one of his Christmas gifts that I made for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Was it like
Yeah.
Dublin? Was it Southern Ireland, Northern Ireland?
He lives in Southern Ireland.
Oh, like Dublin, maybe? Dublin,
No.
Bray.
No, it's a really small town. I can't remember exactly where.
Bray, Dingle. There. Oh, no, that's right.
Megan obviously knows Ireland really well.
Not me.
Dublin, Bray. There was
Oh, Megan, don't put too much pressure on him. He can't remember.
That's okay. I understand. But
Ryan,
I've been to Dublin.
I can look it up later and let you know.
Ryan, did you experience? Can you tell us what your friend like how your friend reacted when you gave him this painting?
Yeah, when I gave it to him, the image I gave him wasn't the exact same one, because I take a picture of my paintings. I call them templates, and then I put them on my computer and I do digital artwork to them, and I change them. So the actual finished piece looked a lot different, but he's like, I know that place because I drive past that every day to go to my house, so he drives past that same building. So it was really cool. Nice Christmas gift. And I like to give people art.
I think that's one of the greatest Christmas gifts. Keep that going. We got a hand from Karen and a hand from Laurie. So let's go to Karen.
Well, I'm gobsmacked, and absolutely fabulous is what comes to mind. I am so impressed by all of you. Wow. I really want to start to become an artist because, I've got goosebumps. I absolutely love art, and I can't get enough of it. And actually, my wedding gift was an original piece of art that my mother had commissioned for me, and I just treasure it. And even though I got rid of the husband, I still have that beautiful piece of art. So
priorities.
Priorities. That's right, Ryan. Priorities.
I'm just so impressed, and so different and unique. I just love all of yours. And Ryan, I just want to say, some people aren't meant to be teachers. And I'm really sorry to hear that that teacher took a part of your soul for that period of time. And I'm so thrilled that you have stepped up and gotten back into the game. And I would just run with it, really.
Maybe I'll start teaching it.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, sometimes we don't know what our path is in life, but the difficult things really enlighten the beauty that comes to us in different ways. And I think of when you were saying that, I was thinking of all these artists, because I've been to Europe, the UK, and to France and Italy. And I was thinking of when I was in Arles with my best friend, and we were sitting in this on this street cafe, enjoying ourselves. And that's where all the famous, I think there were 5 or 6 artists that lived down there, Van Gogh, Gauguin, and they were all Bernard, and they were all sharing all their different mediums and exchanging their art. And the thing is that they weren't considered fabulous artists now, but try to buy a painting for what they were selling it then. I mean, these paintings are going for millions of dollars. Yeah. So it doesn't mean because you are being creative and coming from your heart and soul that it is meant necessarily to be at that moment in time. People aren't always at that same time that you're being so creative. So everyone, if you continue to run with your passion, and I'm just amazed and just so I'm feel so blessed and have great gratitude here tonight for being witness to what you've all shared, because it's absolutely beautiful. And I want to say, for maybe some people that are unable to afford maybe your paintings, I always love to give beautiful cards of painted work, and where you can put your own message in the card. So maybe consider that. And those NFTs, you know, they'll get you over to Italy, Brian. I have faith. I know that will happen. So continue to do that. And I want you to speak actually a little bit to the last painting shown of the bridge, because I really feel I need to go there, because my mouth dropped and I was like, your interpretation is spectacular. I love it. And thank you everybody, for every one of you, Cassandra and Ysabelle and LauriAnne. I just so grateful. And thank you so much, Amy, for tonight. It's just been so wonderful in hearing from all of you. So thank you so much for sharing. And I'd love to hear what you have to say more about that piece that you painted, Ryan. I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Confederation Bridge. A few years ago, my grandfather died, and he lived on PEI. And one of my aunts years ago, she had cancer. She had a tumor, and it killed her. But one of the memories that I have as a child was going on the PEI ferry, going to PEI from New Brunswick, and they were just building the Confederation Bridge. So to be able to take that piece and really just have like a memory of like two of my relatives, like my grandfather and my aunt, on one canvas, it was just, I don't know, it's I still have it here, actually. You know, it's huge, but it's so it's just the starting point of taking my watercolor art from paper and then turning it into like digital art on canvas. So it's kind of what kickstarted me into it.
It's spectacular. It's absolutely spectacular. I'd love to see more of that. Thank you.
There's a lot more on OpenSea.
We'll get you all to share some places where folks can find your work, and we'll circulate that around in our follow-up email so that folks can click on links and stuff. Ryan, any thoughts from any of you as to what Karen talks about in terms of like creating cards, like thank you cards? Of course, that would mean that you'd have to take a photo of a painting and then I guess render it down or whatever to a card size. But any thoughts about doing that? Because those
I have done that before. The first wave of COVID, people were looking for card drives for like the nursing homes and stuff. So yeah, I took a picture of this house out in somewhere. It's this beautiful old house, and I ended up turning it into a Christmas card. I put Santa Claus on the roof with a sleigh, and I printed off like 50 and I donated to them. And I'm like, here you go, guys. And they wrote personal little messages for the residents and handed them out. So yeah, I do that stuff too.
That's lovely. The spirit of community is alive. Let's go to Laurie. Laurie has a hand.
Audio now unmuted.
I would love to go feel that art that has all the material. I have a friend who she does a lot of knitting, and so I like feeling all the material. So knowing that you have it all in different colors, because I remember what colors look like, would be interesting to feel all of that, how you put that into art and everything.
It was lots of fun.
Yeah. We just got to get you from California out to New Brunswick.
Out to Canada.
Come on over. We can do some together.
Did it take you a long time to put all that together?
No, actually it didn't. It was what takes the longest for me is to actually choose from all the lovely fabric, like which ones to put together. But then once I just kind of get into it, well, it just kind of, maybe a couple hours to actually piece them together. I had put the pieces, I laid it out like a puzzle, And then once I liked what I saw, then I glued it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was super cute. Like, I came home with the fabric and you know, we were sorting the bags and she was like, oh, I love this, Ysabelle, I love this, anyway. So she's just playing around with it. I go to bed, right? I wake up the next morning, she had like a plan, she had like the word ableism is, I don't think it's said in the description, like it's written in it's like cut up newspaper.
Oh wow.
So she like cut up pieces of newspaper and she's like, Ysabelle, I got an idea. You want to hear it? And she was going on and on. I was like, whoa, like what happened to you overnight? Like it was funny. Like she had a message, like she was doing, because I think I talked about how I really like what is it? Not contemporary art. What is there's a name that I'm forgetting. But anyway, the type of art that tells a story, that says a message, right? It's about the conceptual art. There you go, conceptual art. It's about the concept more than the execution of the idea. And she was like all over it.
I used to do a lot of collage work when I was in high school, and I would take scrap pieces of wood, so they could be any shape or size, whatever. And I would do exactly what you're doing, LauriAnne, is cut out letters.
Oh yeah.
And then I would cut out pictures of my friends, and we would make a collage of it, and then I would gift it to them. And some of my friends to this day still have these pieces, and they're more than 20 years old. So
that's no, I can believe it. Yeah.
The hunting for letters in a magazine, I can't do that anymore because I don't see them the same way. But when I can see them, the hunting for different shapes and sizes and colors and fonts of letters and then putting them together was really fun.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I loved your all your outdoor paintings that you did, because I like being outside.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks, Laurie. What's next for you all as artists? Got stuff coming up? Cassandra, how about for you? Have you got some art shows coming up or things that you're working on right now?
Well, actually, that's funny outside, because Ysabelle just sent me something today about her. Well, I know it sent me something about being on a board member somewhere, but then also about getting a show in there's an art center in town that I think would be cool to be in. But right now, I'm doing 3 different markets, and one of the markets is close to where I live, and they're talking about relocating. So that's kind of an exciting thing, I guess. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Ryan, how about for you?
Well, I work at Montana's and here in Fredericton, the barbecue bar, whatever it is, restaurant. And I was talking about NFTs to corporate the other day. And she had said that they were interested in doing something with NFTs. And I'm like, well, I'm a crypto artist and I do that. So who knows? But then I got that boudoir collection that I dropped. And yeah.
You want to share with us a bit about that boudoir collection?
Yeah, sure. So it was during COVID, and one of my friends had said that her friend really liked my style of editing and like all that. And I was like, okay, cool. And she's like, well, she would be wondering if you'd be interested in doing a boudoir. And I'm like, no way. No, I can't do that. Like, no, that's too embarrassing. Like, I was going to freak out. And then I thought about it. I'm like, I don't draw people, and maybe this will be a way to understand form more. And so I was on vacation and I sent a message. I'm like, hey, I'm in town if you're still interested in doing that shoot. And she said, yeah. So we did the shoot, and you know, her story was in her late 30s, she had a hysterectomy and she didn't feel beautiful anymore. And she just wanted to have those pictures to remember and help herself love herself. So the whole collection's about body positivity and loving who you are. So yeah, it's a great, I mean, I think it's a great collection. And then it helps me like understand, you know, like I'm a dad, I have a dad bod, and I was always swimming with the t-shirt on because I was embarrassed of my skin, right? So after doing the shoot, I was like, you know what, like, shirt
Love
off.
yourself, be proud.
Yeah. So, I learned something, and now she feels better too. And that's what it's about, using art and photography to connect to people and help them, I don't know, feel.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great message.
Also with Cass, I have the same poster on my wall. I'm looking at it right now. Star Wars.
Which one?
Awesome.
Which one?
Yeah,
hilarious.
the wooden one over there. It's the same one I have. Yeah, that's the one.
Oh.
Yeah, over there.
Oh, the canvas one?
Yeah, it's super cool.
They both have the same poster in their backgrounds.
Yeah.
It's amazing. LauriAnne, what's happening next for you? Anything you've got on the horizons in terms of artistic endeavors?
Oh boy. Yeah, I have, in October, I am showing some pieces that I've done at a little gallery not too far from here. It's called Pat de Mouche. It's like, Pat de Mouche is a fly, like the paws of the legs of a fly, but also what's the term? The English term, not idiom. Is it an idiom? Oh,
it's an expression that means
an expression. Yeah.
You can't read the handwriting. It's like illegible handwriting.
Yeah, like scribbling or like hen scratching on paper. You know what I mean? Like pat de mouche. So it's anyway. So I've got pieces that I've done there, like plates that like my recycling. I'm into the collaging and into the anyway. So I have porcelain plates and that are dishes that broke, and I decided, well, I think I'm just going to put them together on a wood frame, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm going to be showing. And then what was the other thing? I think on the 23rd we're going to Hampton and participating in the Bloomin' or something like that, and St. John, third shift. Doing windmills. So yeah, I've been really kind of busy. It's been fun. A little overwhelming at times because it's and I am also trying to paint like Ysabelle more frequently, like 28-day projects. I'll do 7 pieces at a time, so I'll figure out I want to do, and right now I'm into doing abstracts. And usually I always did form, so doing abstracts. And I really like Ryan's work too, because it's like, okay, landscapes. I've not really done a lot of landscapes, so that's kind of next on the horizon, I think. Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting.
How about for you, Ysabelle? Are you putting another show together, or?
Actually, my mom and I are going to be in the same show on Friday at the gallery in Fredericton here. On the horizon. Sorry, forgot about that. Yeah, you're too busy. You're too busy.
I know. I'm a little overwhelmed, and I'm packing to move. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And her Pat de Mouche gallery, will be her first solo exhibition, which is kind of a big deal. So
that's a big deal.
Yeah. So it's just her art, the whole gallery. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Have you got? Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Ysabelle.
I've already forgotten. Go ahead.
Well, I'm curious. Like, now that we know sort of what's next for all of you, I'm wondering if anybody has a piece of advice that they'd like to offer folks. As Karen said, she's inspired to try art. So what do you say to folks who want to give it a try and just don't know how to break into it?
Just have fun with it. Yeah.
Just run with it, Ryan. Go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? Give it a try.
Yeah.
Ysabelle, you got a thought?
One of the projects that I'm doing is I'm doing like these art talks over Zoom. So it would actually be something that it's intended for New Brunswick artists, but you can still access it through online. So there are a couple of them are on YouTube now. And essentially I'm doing an artist residency with the New Brunswick Disability, no. The New Brunswick Coalition for Persons with Disabilities, my mistake. And essentially, I'm kind of like a facilitator. So my objective is to kind of help people who are interested in making art and, you know, taking their artist career further, or just being available for questions and things like that. So that's what that's one of the projects that I'm doing. Yeah.
One of many. I'm sure we could have filled a whole hour just talking about all the things that you all are about to do, which is amazing. I got another hand from Megan, so I'm going to give Megan a moment to unmute and ask your question, Megan, or share your comments. Just give Megan a moment. I'm going to prompt
Ysabelle, would you like to do an artist talk on our Kiriko Zoom meeting? On a Zoom platform.
What is Kiriko? What is that?
It's for special needs that for people with disabilities, and they're learning about different arts. It's all about I'm an ambassador, arts and culture ambassador, and I'm hosting Zoom meetings on the Kiriko platform. It's Kiriko is like it's for people of all activities for people with disabilities. And I'm hosting like an arts and culture kind of Zoom meeting. Yeah.
Maybe I can connect the two of you offline.
Yes, we can talk about it.
And you all can connect and talk about that.
Oh, it'd be great. Yes, perfectly. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Friends, where can people, I don't know, follow your work, purchase your work? Let's start with LauriAnne. Do you have a place where folks can find you or purchase work from you?
Yes, you can go, I'm on Facebook under LauriAnne Vautour, my name's spelled correctly there, and Art by LauriAnne. I have, is it Art by LauriAnne? Geez, Ysabelle helps me so much. Art by LauriAnne by gmail.com, something like that. You can contact me that way. Yeah.
Ryan, where can we find you?
I don't have a website yet.
That's okay. It'll come.
I'm just kind of new at this too. Yeah.
Ryan, where can folks find you?
I have a link tree. I mean, you followed me on Twitter. You can check my link tree. It takes to all of my collections and stuff. Takes you to my Instagram. I don't have a web page yet because I think I have ADHD. Sometimes I'm just like, you know,
they're hard to build.
Yeah. I am on Artists in Canada, which is like a registry for Canadian artists. There's like 10,000 of them, I guess. So I'm on that, and I can link, you know, my link tree too if people want in the chat. Yeah. And I do have a YouTube channel. These I have fans, and I never thought that was possible, but I have fans in Florida, and they bought something for me, and I was like, oh, what is it? And they're like, what's your address? And I'm like, I don't know. Do I give you my address? So I did, and they sent me a tripod, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. And they're like, now that you got the tripod, you're gonna have to start doing YouTube tutorials and show us how you do your work. So I got like 5 or 6 videos on YouTube, and just shows like sketching and adding paint, and you know, it's got piano music in the background because that's what I listen to, and it's just
you're the Bob Ross.
Bob Ross of Twitter, yeah.
Cool.
Cassandra, where can folks follow your work, buy your work?
I do have a Facebook page. It's under the name Brushstroke.
Brushstroke?
I was watching a lot of Bob Ross tutorials, and he kept saying the word brushstroke. So I was like, hey, I have a stroke. So that's when I named it. I also have a YouTube channel as well. And there's that. Trying to think. Oh, Instagram.
All under Brushstroke?
Yeah, all under Brushstroke, yeah.
One of my favorite things that Bob Ross used to say was, put a happy little tree in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Always the happy little tree.
My favorite thing was he was talking about a cloud, and he was making a cloud, and he was like, I'm just gonna make a happy little friend for him next
That's
year.
right.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Oh, the late Bob Ross.
Yeah.
Ysabelle, how do we find your work?
I have a website called creatingaccess.org or org, and actually there is a tab or a section on the website where you can find all of the artists here.
Perfect.
So they each have a little kind of profile, write up a bio, and then their images of their work, and then you can click to find their link. So yeah, creatingaccess.org.
creatingaccess.org. So maybe we can circle around that address to folks, and they can explore that website and find you all there, which is great. I should have asked you first, Ysabelle. No, I'm just kidding. You have to give everybody the chance to
now
share where they are. That's right. That's right. Folks, this has gone by fast and furious. It's been really lovely having you all in the space. But just before we say goodnight to you all, we have a raffle prize to do tonight. So Ysabelle is going to be our raffle prize puller, so to speak. And Sarah's voice is going to pop into the space. So let's see if we got Sarah.
Hello, this is Sarah.
All right, Sarah, why don't you go ahead and walk Ysabelle through this?
Thank you, Amy. So Ysabelle, I have a list of names of everybody who's eligible for our draw. And I'm just going to pick somebody the minute you shout out a word, any word of your choosing.
Will do.
Okay, so anytime you're ready.
I like the sound effects. So sound effects.
Okay, so our winner is Andrew Thompson.
Andrew, congratulations, Andrew. You have won a raffle prize this evening. So we're going to connect with Andrew offline so that we can make sure we get that prize out.
Well, what is it?
The prizes can be different each week, and so sometimes we want to connect with folks and give them a choice that
keeping the mystery alive, Amy. Wow.
Yeah, it is. I know, right? It's like, well, here's the thing. So we could have just done like Tim Hortons gift cards, but if you live in Japan, that's not going to be helpful for you. So we like to connect with folks and see where they live and see if there's something that'll work for their geographic area. So,
yeah, great.
Yeah, in the very beginning, they were all Canadian gift cards because that's who we had was local Canadians, and now we've got folks from all over the place. So we want everybody to be eligible, right?
Mm-hmm.
This has been great, friends. Hidden Treasures, what a true gift that is for you all to have shared that with us. So thank you so very much. I know it's tomorrow morning for you all. So I just want to say thank you for being in the space. Thanks for joining us here on VocalEye, and wish you all a wonderful evening.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You too.
VocalEye, vocaleye.ca. Special thanks to our funders, the Canada Council for the Arts, the British Columbia Arts Council, the Province of British Columbia, and the City of Vancouver.